If your teeth have turned yellow no matter what you brush them with, I need you to hear me because you have been lied to for years and you have paid for it with your confidence. You gave up the coffee. You gave up the wine. You bought the whitening strips that burned your gums and did nothing. You switched toothpaste 4 times in 1 year. You smiled with your mouth closed in your daughter's wedding photos because you could not stand what the camera would see. And your teeth still look the same. Your dentist looked at you for 11 seconds, told you it would be $1,500 and 3 appointments, and moved on to the next patient. You drove home and did not bring it up again. Not to your dentist, not to your partner, not to anyone, because somewhere inside you decided this was your fault, that you did this to yourself. You didn't. There is a specific reason your teeth hold color the way they do, and it has nothing to do with coffee, nothing to do with wine, nothing to do with how often you brush. There is a protein layer sitting on your enamel right now, and that layer traps pigment the way a sponge holds water. Every whitening product you have ever bought tried to bleach the surface. None of them touched the layer underneath. But here is what will keep you up tonight. Your body already produces the one compound that dissolves that layer. You make it every single day. You have been spitting it into the sink every morning and every night for your entire adult life. 2 minutes. Tonight, not a product, not a procedure. And tomorrow morning, you are going to look at your mirror and feel something you have not felt in years. Now, let me tell you what is really happening in your mouth, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it, and you will understand why nothing you have tried has worked. Think of your tooth as a river stone, hard, smooth, the color of bone. But that stone does not sit in clean water. It sits in a slow river, and every day the river carries silt past it. The silt is not the stain. The silt is just floating by. The problem is that the surface of the stone has grown a thin film of moss, and the silt catches in the moss and holds there. You can scrub the stone all you want. As long as the moss is there, the color comes back by morning. That moss has a name. The dentists call it the pellicle. It is a thin protein layer that forms on your teeth within minutes of brushing them. Everyone has it. It is supposed to be there. It protects the enamel from acid. But as we get older, that layer thickens. It hardens. It holds on to every pigment that passes through your mouth, and it does not let go. The coffee from 20 years ago is still in there. The tea, the wine, the blueberries, the turmeric in last week's curry. All of it layered like rings in a tree. This is why the whitening strips fail. They are aimed at the stone underneath. They never reach the moss. They burn your gums trying to push past it, and the moment you stop using them, the pigment settles right back in. Your dentist knows this. He just does not have a treatment for it that he can charge $1,500 for. But your body, the body you were born with, already makes the answer. It is in your saliva. There is an enzyme in your saliva that softens that protein layer and lifts it gently off the enamel. The problem is that as we age, we make less of it, and the layer outpaces the enzyme. So the moss wins. Every day, a little more. What I'm going to show you tonight wakes that enzyme up. It gives your saliva back the work it was designed to do. And the protein layer, the moss that has been holding 20 years of color on your teeth, begins to lift. What I will tell you, because I am old and I have watched this in too many bodies to count, is that every year you leave this layer where it is, it grows thicker. By 80, for some of my neighbors, it is no longer something a kitchen remedy can reach. This is the kind of thing that does not announce itself until the mirror in the morning stops feeling like your own face. I want to tell you about a woman who came to me last spring. Her name was Margaret, 68 years old, from Denver, a retired school teacher who spent 40 years standing in front of children. She had a daughter getting married in October, and she had been crying about the photographs for 6 months before she ever found her way to my door. Margaret had done everything. She had spent over $2,000 on whitening trays from her dentist. She had used the strips so many times her gums bled when she brushed. She had paid for one of those blue light kits she saw online. Nothing worked. She came to me with the same expression I have seen on so many faces, the expression of someone who has decided to stop hoping. I sat her down at my table and I made her a small bowl of what I am about to give you. I did not promise her anything. I told her to do it for 1 week and come back. She came back in 8 days. She did not say anything when she walked in. She just sat down, looked at me, and smiled with her whole mouth open. That was her answer. Her teeth were 2 shades lighter. By the wedding in October, 6 weeks later, she was the one pulling her family in close for the photographs. Her daughter sent me a card afterward. Margaret had her arm around the bride and she was laughing so hard her eyes were closed. That is the woman who walked out of my kitchen. Now I am going to give you what I gave her, and I want you to do this tonight before you go to bed. You will need 4 things, and you already have all of them. 1 small banana, ripe with the brown spots on the skin. The riper, the better. The brown spots tell you the starches have turned to natural sugars, and those sugars feed the enzyme work we want. 1/2 teaspoon of fine sea salt, not the big rough crystals. Fine. Your finger should not feel grains when you rub a pinch between 2 fingers. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, the plain kind, the kind your grandmother kept in a yellow box in the cupboard, and the juice of 1/4 of a lemon, not more. A small squeeze. Take the banana and put it in a small bowl. Mash it with the back of a fork until it is smooth the way you would mash it for a baby. There should be no lumps. The smoother it is, the better it coats the teeth. Add the 1/2 teaspoon of salt and the 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Stir them in slowly. You will see the paste turn a little lighter as you mix. Now add the lemon juice, just the small squeeze. You will hear a soft fizzing when the lemon meets the soda. That is the reaction we want. Stir once more. The paste should be the color of soft cream and the texture of thick yogurt. Here is why each of these matters. The banana is the body of the paste. But more than that, the inside of the banana skin and the soft fruit itself carries a compound that gently softens the protein layer. In my village, the grandmothers would rub the inside of the banana peel directly on the teeth of the children before bed. They did not know the science. They just knew it worked. The salt is the gentle abrasion, not enough to scratch the enamel. Just enough to lift what the banana has loosened. The baking soda is the alkaline shift. The protein layer holds onto pigment best in an acidic mouth. The soda changes the pH for 2 minutes, and in those 2 minutes, the layer lets go of what it has been holding. The lemon is the spark, a small acid hit that activates the enzyme in your saliva. Not enough to harm the enamel, just enough to wake the work up. Now, take a soft toothbrush, dip it into the paste, get a good scoop, and brush in slow, small circles for a full 2 minutes. Cover every tooth. Pay extra attention to the ones in front, the ones that show when you smile. Do not scrub hard. Let the paste do the work. When the 2 minutes are up, spit and rinse with warm water. Do not rinse with cold. The warm water keeps the enzyme active for another few minutes after you finish. Do this every night for 7 nights. Then drop to 3 nights a week. The people in my village who do this tell me the same thing, almost word for word. They say the next morning when they run their tongue across the front of their teeth, it feels different. Smoother, like glass instead of fabric. One woman told me her husband noticed before she did. He looked up at breakfast and said, "You look 10 years younger today," and he could not tell her why. Another told me she finally let her grandson take a picture of her with her mouth open, and when she saw the photograph, she did not recognize the woman in it as herself. That is what tonight can do. But before you go, I want you to understand one more thing, because if you only do the paste and nothing else, the layer will come back. It always comes back if the reason it is forming is still there. What I just gave you will lift the stains. It will give you back the smile in the mirror in a week. For many of you, that is enough, and you can take it with my blessing and never come back to me. But if you have ever wondered why this layer has been growing thicker year after year, why your saliva stopped doing the work it used to do on its own, stay with me for 2 more minutes. This is what I tell the people who come to sit across from me at my table. What I have noticed over the years in the people who come to me with yellow teeth that nothing will touch is that it is almost never about the teeth. It is about the saliva, and the saliva is almost never about the mouth. It is about the gut. The enzyme in your saliva, the one that softens the protein layer, is made by your body using the same raw materials it pulls from your gut every day. When the gut is not feeding the body well, the saliva thins. It loses its enzymes. It loses its minerals. It becomes water instead of medicine. And the layer on your teeth, which used to be cleaned away every night while you slept, starts to settle and harden. I have watched this for 60 years. The people with the most yellow on their teeth are almost always the people whose gut has stopped doing its quiet work. The gut needs 3 things to make the saliva strong again. It needs the good living bacteria that produce the minerals your enzymes are built from. It needs the fiber that those bacteria eat. And it needs the healing compounds those bacteria make once they are fed. When the gut has all 3, the saliva thickens within weeks. The protein layer loosens on its own every night while you sleep. And the yellow that has been climbing up your teeth for 20 years stops climbing. There is one drink that carries all 3 of these at once, and my grandmothers and their grandmothers have been making it for as long as any of us can remember. We call it kombucha. The people I give it to alongside the paste are the ones whose results hold, not just for a week, For years. I make my own kombucha at home because I have the time and the knowledge. But for everyone watching online who can't brew their own, I give BoochBod Kombucha Gummies. The link is in the description, or you can search BoochBod Kombucha Gummies on Amazon. Now, let me tell you about Margaret one more time because I think about her often. She wrote to me a few months after the wedding. She said she had been to a school reunion, 40 years since she had stood at the front of her first classroom. She said she walked into the room and three different women asked her what she had done to herself. She told them the truth. She told them about the banana and the salt and the soda and the lemon. She told them about the kombucha. And then she did the thing she had not done in a decade. She laughed with her whole mouth open in front of a room full of people, and she did not cover it once. The same road is open to you tonight with four things you already have in your kitchen. And I want to say this to you before I let you go, because I know some of you are listening to me and thinking it is too late, that the years have already taken what they were going to take. It is not too late. The body at 70 and 75 and 80 still knows how to do this work. It has been waiting all these years to be given what it needs. If this helped you, please subscribe so I can find you again next week. Share it with someone who has stopped smiling in photographs. And leave me a comment and tell me how the first night went. I read every single comment on this channel. Until next time.